What's up, everybody? This is Rob MetalWorks. Tonight we are here at the Vibes Event Center for one hell of a show. Yes, brings me great pleasure to welcome Gene Hoglan and the man Steve from Death to All. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us, Rob.
Yeah.
Right on, Rob. Happy to be here.
Steve DiGiorgio, I'm so happy to have you, man. I've been wanting to interview, and you too, Gene, for a long time. In fact, I missed you for when Dark Angel was just here not too long ago.
Shame. What a great show that was. Absolutely.
Guys, but obviously you guys are here supporting Chuck Schuldiner and the legacy of Death. So I first want to talk about the beginnings of Death to All, because I still feel that there's fans coming on to the band, especially those new gen fans, younger people, metal fans who are coming on to Chuck's music. So when did the idea for Death to All first come about?
Well, it was pretty much it kind of stemmed from a clinic tour that I did in 2011, where they had just re-released the Individual Thought Patterns record. So I was doing a clinic tour of the States and Canada and things like that. And one of the guys from Sick Drummer came down to one of the shows and one of my clinics. And, it kind of stemmed from that whole doing that clinic tour where, he had come down and he's like, hey, let me put some ideas together here. And then not too long after that, he had called myself and Sean Reinert up to LA and said, got this concept for Death to All. And, that was the initial inception of it. And he gave us a whole rundown of everything. And that looked like it was going to be a pretty good run. And so that was the initial Death to All was, about 7 guys from the band, I think, just throughout the history.
Total, because it's singer replacement guys.
Right, yeah,
so
totally.
7 ex-members together.
Yeah. And was it initially just supposed to be like one run?
No, but the way it kind of got subverted was, it just took a while to kind of get rid of the situations that didn't bode well for us, like doing this the kind of the sort of proper way. I thought so, but it took a while, and now that we are able to do it this way, that's really exciting for us, because this, for me, in my opinion, this is the dream lineup of Death, with Bobby, Steve, myself, and that was always the lineup that never got to actually happen. We never got to put all of us together. So it's really fun doing it this way, and that's kind of how it's just kind of evolved to us 3, along with Max Phelps, our vocalist, who is, he's one of the driving proponents of this band as well, because he's so talented and he can do all of Chuck's voices. Yeah. And that's one thing about Death to All, for me anyway, that one of the things that makes it really magical for the audience is the fact that we don't deny them any of the material. We, because Steve and myself and Bobby, we could be like, well, we play on a total of 3 albums, so that's the 3 albums that we're going to play. No, man, to honor Chuck, and to bring about, the music of Death to the audience, you got to play the entire gamut. You can't just do 2 albums or 1 album or whatever it would be. So that's what makes us really magical. And so many people, so many nights, they use that term. This was a magical night. Seeing you guys on stage, the way you guys are, the way you guys play, the way that the music is represented, it is a very emotional night for a lot of folks. And it's always emotional for us too, because we have a great time doing it. We have a great time. We're all best pals, so we just really enjoy being together. And that's why any chance, for me anyway, to get a Death to All run on the calendar, on the schedule, I'm always for it. Because this really uplifts my spirits. To be able to play some kick-ass music with some of my best friends, my brothers. This is really amazing for me. I'm getting choked up just talking about it right now.
I'm glad you mentioned Bobby Koelbe, because I love his work on Symbolic, which is one of my favorite records.
Darn tootin'.
You kind of alluded to this right now, but in order to get Death to All on the official right track, did you have to kind of get the blessing from Chuck's family or his estate to to do this Death to All?
Well, that is one thing that we do have, and they've always appreciated what we do, and because it is all about Chuck.
Right.
It's all about the music of death. It's about Chuck's music, and I've mentioned this before, but Chuck's nephew, Christopher, he went so far one time when I was explaining to him, like, hey, man, we love doing this. We love honoring Chuck. We love honoring Chuck's music. And Christopher stopped me in the middle of my sentence. He's like, hey, man, I just want you to know that this is about your legacy and Steve's legacy and Bobby's legacy and everybody's legacy. You guys are very important to the legacy of death. So please take a moment and, acknowledge that, because we, the family, we do. And I was so blown away by that. I was like, wow, that's very, very kind of you. Thank you. So that is one thing too. It's part of our musical legacies as well. Some of the playing, some of the next level, total advancement of bass that comes from Stevie D, and some of, and that's where it all came from, and what an influential man. Stevie D is my favorite bassist on the planet. He's the best metal bassist ever, the absolute GOAT. So I love that. And so I said not on camera. But so there you go. And so all of us being able to put our little elements into it, and we really have a good time. And it's meant to be a good time. It's a celebration. It's not a heavy downer kind of thing. It's really fun. And we try to really be engaging and just have a really great time with all of it. And so I think that's pretty noticeable to the audience. They give it right back to us.
The energy.
Right, absolutely.
You talked about how initially you guys got several people to participate in Death to All, and then it kind of has evolved into now this solid lineup. And I have just two quick questions. Did you guys ever ask Paul Masvidal to be part of this? Or do you guys still talk to that cat?
Yeah, totally. When we did the genesis of this project, this tribute band, the first couple tours after that were with Sean and Paul, myself and Max. Yeah, so we had gone out and played a few territories with that lineup. But it, like Gene had kind of alluded to, it was somewhat limiting because those guys kind of preferred to play a set that was similar to when they were in the band.
Sure.
So they weren't really looking at the 3 albums that were past their existence. So, and it ran its course pretty quick. It was, it had good moments, but some lackluster moments.
Yeah.
It was, like Gene said, we're here, we're having a good time, we're hanging out, and when there's good vibes, good result comes from that.
Right,
and so once we kind of, massage the lineup back to, getting Gene put on the throne where he belongs and get Bobby in there, it's been steady with that since. But and even with this lineup, when we come through an area where somebody is local to, we always invite them to come join us. We just had James Murphy back in Tampa where he lives, and when we play, Paul's in Southern California, so we've had him on stage a couple times. Oh, cool! So he comes up, and even though he's played a full set, we still take him as a guest. And
sure, that's good. Yeah,
anybody who's available, we always try to hit them up. And sometimes they're busy, sometimes they come join us, or like in Richard Christy's case, so he just wants to visit. He doesn't want to really. He doesn't want to play. Yeah, he's been a little time dispatched from the material for a while, but he's just happy to see us and watch it be played. And so it's Death to All is really the namesake is really we keep the door open and stuff. So Paul, Sean, James, Richard, everybody somewhere along the way,
You definitely got to keep those chops up, man, to play in Death. So
indeed.
Right.
It's not lost on us that we were very ambitious as young men, and now we have to replicate it as twice the age of when we invented that stuff. So, but we're up to the challenge. It's fun. It's hard work, but it's just hard. It's not bad.
I want to also talk about an opportunity just to chat about Max Phelps for a second. He's the only guy that was not a member of Death, and I kind of feel of course, as the frontman and filling the position where Chuck was, obviously has big shoes to fill. Was he in Cynic with Paul Masvidal? Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's where the connection came from. Like I said, in the early part, we were doing Sean and Paul, and they brought Max in to do that role, and we just kept our grip in him because he does the best job I've seen of anybody. He's 12 years into this now.
Wow. Yeah. So he can definitely pull off not just the guitar parts, but the vocals too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He puts a lot of focus into the details of like Gene said. I'll just echo it, but he matches the voice that's on the particular album because Chuck's voice changed through time, and Max matches that to give the proper experience. And it's amazing too that he was way too young to meet Chuck in real life. And so many people have said like, I see a resemblance, and we have told him that too in private. I mean, not just on stage, but there's weird little things that he does in his just movements or sayings.
Right.
We're like, wow, it's uncanny, but he enjoys it, and we love having him there. He's a top-notch musician.
Yeah, and check out Max's band Exist.
Oh,
they're
okay.
amazing. They're fantastic. They're all over Spotify and all that kind of stuff. So check out their music. It's awesome. They're great. Totally. So check them out.
Let's talk about just the great reception that Death to All in the past several years has garnished. It seems like the longer that you guys are doing this, the bigger it's becoming. I've seen photos and read reviews about just the tremendous appreciation from the fans and the attendance, and it's just seems so positive and good. How do you guys feel about the reception that the band's received?
Well, I'll just start quickly and let Gene finish, but it's basically just a band on stage playing songs. It's just a great night of nostalgia. We're the guys that were there in the day doing it, and we're replicating it. But I mean, it's just a night to hear some songs. And I think it's the people really appreciate that. We're not faking anything. We're just up there playing songs we used to play, and when we're doing it with full integrity, right? I mean,
but these songs, these are Death songs, and nowhere else are they going to be able to see these songs played live.
Well, that's one thing that I like to think that is really cool about Death to All is that we are the guys with the interpretations from ourselves from back in those days. A lot of us played a lot of these and created the parts for these things, and a majority of the songs in every set list are, a lot of times those are songs that we did play at one point in the band Death. And as, Steve will probably mention something tonight about some of the other songs of the set list. But, that is the thing. It's like, this is, I'm always a little reticent to use the term nostalgia. That's never really a term that I'm comfortable with, but for a lot of people, it's just, this is really for the fans. We dig this. We're very fortunate to be able to dig this, but there are the fans that saw us back in the day that, thought, well, I'll never see Death music on stage ever again. And then there are the people that weren't around when, or the people that couldn't make it to those shows back when they were kids. Now a lot of guys travel, now the guys, 30 years down the road, a lot of guys got, good jobs, or they're like, I traveled from somewhere to get here because you guys would never play anywhere near where I live, so I can travel to you. Right. So it kind of runs the gamut of who we get to play for, and a lot of the fans that we have are so young. The metal world is in good hands with the young crowd that's out there, that they're just as enthusiastic as. Now you see the youngins are the ones in the pit, and the older guys are kind of the ones that are like hanging in the back, but they're like, I'm there.
Check
in
me out,
Dad. Right?
The young generation's in full force. I mean, there's a lot of dad and son and father and daughter showing up, and
man,
they come and make a point to tell. Pop says like, I saw you guys at so and so, and in '93 or whatever, and then there's a kid standing there. It's not a child either. It's
right,
older,
right? Indeed,
still a young person, but we're like, wow, this person wasn't even born when we were doing it, and sometimes these kids even have Death tattoo, or they got the full battle vest. I mean, they're totally into it. So to them, it's it's close to the real things you can get.
Absolutely,
it's like a whole new generation, a whole new generational fan base for Death and Chuck's music. And I'm sure some of these kids, maybe found their dad's vinyl or whatever and jammed it. But now, of course, these are kids who grew up with social media and YouTube and all the documentaries that are out there about Death. And I'm sure that also played a big part of it. Did you guys check out the new one from Hulu, Into the Void?
Steve's in it.
Yeah, I know. Did you check it out?
I did. Yeah, Steve.
What'd
Yeah.
you think about it, Steve?
I think it came out pretty well. I was to be honest, I was a little hesitant to do it at first because it's produced by Vice, and they did a lot of wrestling stuff.
Oh, okay.
So I thought it'd maybe be, a little exposing or something. But they assured me that they were going to do a good job. And when I saw that his big sister and his nephew and his ex-girlfriend were on there, I said, okay, I felt good going into it, knowing that, it wasn't going to be slanderous or throwing dirt or anything. And when I watched it, I was like even more pleased. It's very touching. It's a really personal look into Chuck's life, and I think we needed that because there's been a lot of talk. There's been documentaries and articles and features all written about all kinds of stuff of Chuck. So this was a really, really deep look into his dad's on there talking about how he taking care of him on a sick bed and stuff. Very, very touching, and I think people needed to know finally how Chuck was suffering and what was going on in the end days and everything.
I learned the only thing, that I'm an old school fan, and I found and I learned that about Chuck's brother passing away. I never knew that, and how that might have affected a lot of his lyric writing and stuff like that.
Yeah. For those of us who knew him, we were aware of all of that. However, there is a new book. It just came out by David Gelke called Born Human. We are, Bobby's reading it right now and kind of reporting to us a lot of the information that there were certain items that we weren't aware of. And so we're learning it through the book, because David Gelke did a very thorough, in-depth investigation, triple checking every fact checking deluxe.
Did he talk to you guys?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Steve was an important part on a lot of this because Steve and Chuck go back way further than many do. Steve's there from way back.
But the author
in the
David,
mid-80s.
he was getting a hold of guys that Chuck went to school with, ex-neighbors, and people that worked at labels that are out of the business. I mean, he really did a thorough job of getting a lot of the stories corroborated, and so the book. It's definitely an official. I mean, it's
It's
the real thing. Yeah, it's legit. It's
very.
Yeah. Everybody go ahead and take a look at the cover work for the book. Be sure to look for it and check it out. Gene, you were, though, interviewed for the Death by Metal documentary.
Right?
Yeah. How did you feel about that documentary? Came out several years ago now, I think 2016. But it's in-depth. It's 2 hours. And I was telling my boys a little while ago, I said, I've seen that documentary like 3 times. And I kind of like it a lot.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Yeah. What did you think about the how they put that one together?
It was decent. I will freely admit, the morning of the interviews, I was requested to throw as much dirt as I could, don't pull any punches. And I'm like, there is no dirt to throw, not in my memories or anything. So the fact that I'm being requested of this, not by the producer or the director at all, it wasn't him. But, somebody had asked me to, don't be afraid to just tell it like it is kind of thing. And I'm like, that does nobody any good because first of all, I can't, I don't remember a lot of the complications of things, but it was decently done. Good old Prime Video special kind of thing. It's pretty good. So who knows? Maybe at some point somebody will make a larger budget. Something like that. But the Hulu one was. I thought that one was just. It does have a budget, and it didn't speak to a whole lot of people. So but it did speak to the important people, and it did speak about the important subjects of what they were, trying to achieve. And I thought they did it really masterfully. I think Vice does really good. Their documentaries are well done. So, so there you go. It's anything to help, to help Chuck, to help Death, to help the family, to help metal. I'm all about. As long as they take a responsible look at metal and not just try to glorify it or tabloid it, that's all any of us would ask. Just represent it, properly. The good, the bad, fine, but just
keep it professional.
Just do it just come correct. That's all. And I thought Hulu did, definitely.
Is it hard to believe that it's almost been 25 years since Chuck passed?
Yeah. Wow. Put a number on it. It's crazy, right? It's hard. Yeah. I only lived to be 34 years old. That's It was bizarre.
Right.
I have a daughter who's 31 now. I can't imagine, like, yeah, she seems so young to think that we were at that point in our life. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I really wish he could see this. I don't think he got to bask in a lot of the groundwork he laid. I think, he was rising to a point, but still paying his dues. As late as 98 was last Death concert, and I think it's grown pretty big, and I always have a little secret thought of I'd love to show him what's going on.
Nice.
I'm sure he's watching from somewhere.
Darn tootin'.
Somewhere.
Indeed.
I have a question, and because I'm going to jump into a couple of the records right now that I want to talk about. There came a point, obviously, because of the transition from Death to Control Denied, where Chuck didn't want to sing anymore. When did that begin? When did that start? When did he become dissatisfied with singing?
A lot before
Way before that.
Way before you guys are aware of it.
Right.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah,
when did it happen?
We were tracking in Morristown, me and Gene with Chuck, and and the music was really tight and explorative, and he was giving us full license to decorate it as we could. He would even push us a little more than we thought we were doing, and then we'd have a nice solid song laid down, and he would just Scotty Burns would be like, "All right, Chuck, time to put some vocals," in his head would slump on you.
Right.
Well, time to desecrate my own music. Or like, what? We'd like try to encourage, like, you're the man, right? I mean,
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. He's one of the founding fathers of this style. You do got to give, of course, and Chuck would always give credit to like guys like Jeff Becerra.
Yep.
And Kronos from Venom, kind of doing the rougher, rawer voice. And, I've always felt like also Cam Lee from, Massacre and also Mantis. He was the first vocalist in Chuck's bands of anything that I heard, because I was like, wow, the drummer's doing the singing, and listen to his voice.
That was in Mantis?
Yeah.
That was Mantis,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
Pre-Massacre sort of days. So, I'd give the respect to Cam Lee.
She's over Max Cavalera too, right? Wasn't he in the early
And
Sepultura stuff?
sure, I always found that Max was very reminiscent of Tom G. Warrior, which give it up to Tom G. Warrior. There's another one, like back in the Satanic Slaughter days and all the early Hellhammer days. But we did hear, Chuck's voice doing whatever Chuck's voice was doing, and there was no lessons on death metal vocals back then. I mean, Chuck was one of the forefathers of it, one of the progenitors of it. So any mistakes that you practice, that a lot of the guys know how to take care of their voices now, they didn't back then. One thing I would always notice that at the beginning of a tour, because Chuck really pushed, it's not from just his throat, before in the days leading up to the tour, put it this way, by the time Chuck was done with the tour, he had a six-pack full on. You notice the shirt started coming off towards the end of the tour. Rocking the six-pack, man.
Looking good.
He put a lot of effort into his vocals, but he was always the least Chuck Schuldiner fan of anybody.
He was the most critical on himself.
Yeah, he was, because he always,
Yeah, he just burnt on the style, I guess.
Yeah.
It just he enjoyed it for a while, but he was always into power metal, symphonic metal, melodic singers. I mean, everybody from the classics like Halford Dixon down to, like he likes Sortilege from France, and
Warrell Dane was a big one.
That was one of his favorite singers. So he wanted that style to evolve, to be what he was writing for, and he could sing like that.
Right.
And his time as a vocalist gave him, some fortitude to do it, but he just didn't spend a lot of time with that voice, so it was good. It just wasn't professional level, so he kind of kept it, between the band members. Like when he'd do a private tape, he'd show us, but he didn't really want it going out. So he went out and got a singer, but I'm sure by the Symbolic cycle, he was already. He wanted
very much.
He wanted to get a new singer, and he didn't want to. He didn't want to disappoint the Death fans, so he said, "Well, I'm going to change the name of the band."
Right.
And so the Control Denied idea was birthed back then, but he had to still clear out some Death material and keep it going before the real album came out. But it's so hard to think of, like, 20 years later, like if we would still be playing with a singer, or if maybe he trained his voice to do it, or it's hard to tell. But he burnt on the style that he helped create, and it just wasn't for him anymore. He was kind of
If I had to guess, I would think he would have just stayed playing guitar and
Oh,
had
for
another
sure.
singer.
Oh,
Had another
absolutely.
singer.
Oh, he just
Right.
wanted to be death metal's Ace Frehley.
Yeah.
Right.
Guys, I want to take a quick moment and talk about a couple of records that my boys and I just love. And I think a very pivotal record in the history of death is Human.
Right.
Human's an amazing record. Steve, that was your first record with Death, right?
Yeah.
There's been a lot of talk about how Human really that was like the new beginning for Death, where they kind of left the traditional death metal and really Chuck really started putting down his inhibitions to kind of broaden the sound of Death. Talk a little bit when you think about that record. What do you think about and what new boundaries it broke?
No, big time boundary breaker. The supporting cast obviously had a lot to do with that.
Right.
And bringing in Cynic guys and myself was, we were completely unleashed. We could play whatever we wanted to play on his riffs. But I think his mindset happened a little bit before that. He was bouncing around lineups looking for something steady. And when I think having James Murphy around and looking at the talent of that, I think made him realize, I could put guys that could shred and play over my head and it's still my product.
Right.
And he had a very, very strong sense of security having good musicians around him because it was his vision. And I think James kind of put the notion in his head, like, man, I need to get a full lineup of guys who could play. Yeah. So I think that's what led him to, ask the Cynic guys and me to come in and,
Right.
And
So that was
then
you.
later,
That was you, Paul, and Sean Reinert.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we were so young. Those guys, Sean recorded when he was 19 years old, and me and Chuck were 23.
Wow.
So I want to say like we knew what we were doing, but we kind of didn't. We just went for it.
I think that's the beauty of it, though.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
But then I had to return back to my home base band, Sadus, and so I wasn't part of the tour that kind of fell apart. But when Chuck called me back to do the next record, my old buddy from Dark Angel was there, and it was the same directive. It was like, play your asses off, guys.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that was a great thing about Chuck, too, is that he allowed you guys, as talented as you are, to be yourselves.
Indeed.
And even more so. Even when we thought we were doing crazy stuff, he would say, I like what you're doing there, but... And we're like, oh, no, here it comes. But it was like, I think you could do better. Do a little more.
Yeah.
And we, me and Gene took a little bit of free license on the tour we were doing. And we would stretch some of the parts out and experiment with it. And
Right.
Chuck was into it and stuff, but once in a while I sit us down and goes, okay, guys, I'm trying. When I come out of my solo, I can't find the one, so can we...
I'm glad you say that because, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, even you kind of went off a little bit on the Human recording. Correct me if I'm wrong. I heard a rumor that some of that stuff maybe got a little buried in the mix. Is that true?
Buried. Completely buried.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like
It's
an
in there, you
apple,
just
like a-
can't hear it, or what? Or did they take it out?
Just
From some of the pre-production.
after I recorded, I had to leave and go on tour with, like I said,
Yeah.
with my band Sadus, and just not being in the studio, I don't think there was anybody really there to
Say,
speak
"Hey,
up. Yeah, it was.
Leave that alone.
It was like I said, it was a bunch of kids doing a record, so
Yeah.
everybody's like me, and I
Right.
wasn't there, so it got kind of forgotten. But when Chuck called me back, he goes, it shouldn't have been like that. We're gonna do this one right.
Right.
And it was twofold easier the next time because the drum parts were easier to write crazy stuff to. Sean is a one-man show, but I think me and Gene understood the cohesiveness of playing together, and that's why we have the best chemistry I've ever seen between two musicians. I mean, we speak in music.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
And you guys
communicate with our notes.
Yeah, man. Totally. To this
You guys
day.
had your opportunity with 1993's Individual Thought Pattern, where you guys are both on that record.
Yeah.
Let's talk also, I love that record too, because you guys were expanding on what happened with Human, but I feel that Individual Thought Pattern was far more technical. And I think, Gene, you had a big part of that. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Wow, I was trying to make it like I wasn't being super technical wasn't a real it wasn't like anything like from the drum standpoint I set out to do. I always wanted to be kind of like, Neil Peart was a huge influence on me, as he is on most drummers. But the one thing that I really did want to draw from the Peart from was playing parts that could be replicated relatively easy. They're not so technical that it's just like, oh my God, what in the hell is going on there? It's just where they're, they might not be the standard, sort of meat and potatoes sort of drums, but I also didn't try to go so far overboard that the song was not served correctly. I've always wanted to serve the song. And that's one thing that I've always thought Neil Peart, he could have probably played every song 10 times more complicated,
right.
But where Neil Peart would try to build up the first chorus really simply, the second chorus has a little more something going right into it, and then by the third chorus, that's when he really like lays the hammer down with the really craziest lick. If you ever notice, that's one of his templates that he likes to use, and so I borrowed from that, and he was a big influence on that, as was Steve Gadd from the Al Di Meola era of Steve Gadd's drum playing. I was a huge Al Di Meola fan, so was Steve, so we had a big blast jamming a lot of that stuff. So bringing the bembe beat to metal, I'd never heard anybody put the bembe beat down, but that was one thing that was a staple of Steve Gadd, and that was just a big influence. And Chuck's music really allowed for that bembe beat instead of just going dooga 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 dagga dooga 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 dagga dooga dooga dooga. You go do 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 ledo do 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 ledo do 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 ledo. Put a little bounce in it, put a little dance to it. So just have it just be a little bit more engaging rhythmically than the same kind of beat that you've heard for the past number of years with a lot of death metal bands doing that. So that's where Individuals was just, knowing that I was going to be working with Steve and, my love for Steve already, that's where our brotherhood just really cemented itself. Right. And so, really excited about representing that record at any moment. Totally.
Right. And then you had fucking Andy LaRocque come in and just shred ass on that record too.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah, he stopped by for a few days, laid it down, and took off.
Yeah.
But it was fun to watch him, though, man. He's a true master, especially for us being big fans and stuff.
Everybody knows about Andy LaRocque now because he's with King, but back at that time, who was he with? How did you? Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Man, it's been that long.
Yeah.
So how did you guys? Do you remember how you guys got a hold of him to come and do the record? Did management do that, or?
Well, no, that was actually it was kind of Chuck, but Chuck was always searching for Bobby Koelbe. He
really?
Around the Orlando area, and this was pre-internet sort of days. So it's not like you could just go on Facebook and hey Bobby, what's up? Come down.
Right.
So Chuck was trying to go through every aspect he could, any contacts, anybody who might know Bobby, and he just couldn't come up with them. So he's like, well, we went with Andy LaRocque. I'm like, well,
wow.
I don't know who this Bobby is, but Andy LaRocque, you're not gonna no, that's a win-win.
Oh shit, man.
Well,
because he could have been on a wonderful record, on a second wonderful record.
Bobby's so busy, I don't think he worries about what could or should have been. He's just
right.
He's so full of music. That guy just breathes it 24 hours a day.
Cool. You guys are here in San Antonio as part of the Symbolic Healing Tour. The tour started at the beginning of November, and it's going to go to the end of this month. Mm-hmm. Great to have you guys here in the Alamo City. Correct me if I'm wrong. Were you in Houston last night? Was that Houston? Or?
Dallas.
Houston the night before.
Yeah.
How's Texas been treating you?
Like a baby treats a diaper. No, I joke. I just always love saying that. Texas has been great. We got a lot of hardy death fans out here, and it's always great to come out because everybody, we're always happy to play in front of anybody who is stoked to be there.
Yeah.
And Texas always lets you know when they are stoked to be here. So that's been the shows the past few nights. We expect San Antonio tonight to be just as kick-ass.
Sure.
So bring it, San Antonio. Totally.
35 years of spiritual healing, which is Death's third record, and then 30 years of Symbolic. Oh, my favorite record. Yeah. And obviously you guys are playing songs from those two records. obviously, can fans expect, for those fans who are going to catch the tour after tonight, expect to hear songs from other records too?
Of course.
Always.
Yeah, always.
We always mix in something from everything because
Yeah.
we don't want to disappoint. Gene pointed out early in the interview, we represent the whole catalog as much as we can. I mean, we're playing a very, very long set with these 2 albums, taking the big chunk of it, but we definitely sprinkle in something from every record. I mean, that's just that's our protocol, man. We just got to represent.
And wear comfy shoes because it's a 2-hour set, man. It's a long one, so make sure you wear
workout for us, that's for sure.
cushy shoes. Totally.
I was so happy to
shoes.
There you go, man.
I was happy to see on social media that James, you talked about James Murphy coming out. He played on the Spiritual Healing record. And has he kept his chops up?
Yeah. He's been out of the cycle because of his health, but he's taking care of himself, and he's never stopped playing guitar. He just stopped going on the road with bands, so it's good to catch up with him when we come through his area, because he's not traveling anymore. But yeah, he did a great job. Came out and played on one of the songs he originally recorded, and
did he bring his own guitar, or did he borrow somebody's guitar?
he actually used my bass. It was incredible.
Oh,
he played shredded lead on a
3-string bass.
Nah, he brought his own guitar, of course.
Yeah, James did great. It was fantastic. It was a real pleasure working with him, and had a great time. Totally.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool, man, that after all these years, you guys can come together in brotherhood and enjoy what you guys do professionally as musicians. It's a beautiful thing.
Well, that's how we operate, but that's also a big telltale of Chuck's legacy.
Yeah.
He brought us together. We made friends with each other back then, and while we're still living, we're still friends.
Right. Any plans as of yet for 2026 for Death to All? Tell me those plans.
Well, we do know that we are going to South America and Latin America in January into like very, very early February. And I do understand there's, hopefully more plans in the works for some more stuff with DTA. And the way I've always felt about DTA is I'll always take every chance that we ever get. And a lot of times the schedules, that's always the challenging part about getting a Death to All run together, is just everybody's schedules are pretty busy.
Sure.
And actually, Steve and my schedules are actually kind of more malleable than some of the other guys in the band, where sometimes we have the open spots, and we do know, because Bobby is a college professor. He's a musical professor at a university in Florida, UCF. And, so sometimes we work around that schedule, but any chance we ever get to go out and do a run, whether it be summertime or around this time every year, or a couple of weeks in the Easter sort of area, spring break sort of area, we'll always try to take it, and, just keep your eyes open, and you'll see more DTA stuff.
You got to tell the booking agent, we got to postpone the tour, not because of Testament, but because of Bobby's fall semester.
Right. And a lot of times it is because of Testament, but what can you do,
Let me ask you guys, as we get near to the end of this interview, just a couple more questions. One, and I'm going to ask this, as silly as it may sound. Would Death to All, has Death to All ever discussed writing original music?
I can't really see how that could happen, because we've got some of the coolest death metal or metal around to be able to play from. But I mean, I wouldn't. Even just from a flat out, like trying to look at the actual option of that, like from the logistical standpoint. What would we write? Would it be like music inspired by death? Would that be the name of the album? I don't know, but I'm not sure how much we've ever purposely, flat out. I don't think any of us have the time to do that. Really. Yeah. So
we're all doing so much. We keep bringing up the schedule, and that's why we're super busy. And with the level of talent in this band, it could go 15 different ways. Sure. So to tell you the truth, we've never talked about it. We've been asked about it, so we have to kind of answer, improvise an answer because there's no real need for it right now because we treat this as what it is, and we don't want to dilute it any by doing something that's too similar, or I don't know.
Right.
We're all very, very full-time, busy musicians doing stuff. So this is just a live gig, and we'll leave it like that.
There's not anything wrong with it. Don't fuck with it, right?
If it ain't broke, don't break it.
Exactly. Now, lastly, and Steve, this might be a little bit more towards you. Will fans ever see the second Control Denied record?
Well, we've been saying yes, no, yes, no, yes since 2001. So,
what's the title of it? The title, someone's leaked the title. I know, right? The Man and Machine.
When Man and Machine collide.
Yeah.
And the cover art's already been done, and the drums are been recorded in December of 2000.
Wow.
But there's a lot of guitar work to be done. There's no bass or vocals on it yet.
Did Chuck do the vocals? Like any scratch vocals?
Yeah, scratch vocals. Yeah, we have recordings of him, showing the singer, which was going to be Tim again, but now Tim's passed away. So we do have Chuck's instructions of where it goes and how it goes, if that day ever comes. But man, it's just been a challenge. One thing, the list of what's holding it up is pretty long. It's not just one thing. It's a lot of crazy stuff.
With the label and stuff like that?
There is no label.
Oh, I thought Nuclear Blast might have also had rights to that release.
No, not that I know. No, Chuck had signed a deal with a European company, and when he passed away, there was a bunch of litigation and law battles, and then that was terminated. So it's a contractless project and everything else less. Right. But we haven't given up completely, even in the middle of everything that's going on wrong with it. We're still talk about how we could do it, who we could get, and stuff like that.
I think it would be amazing.
It's a reach, and who knows, maybe it never will happen. But I know me, Richard, Shannon, and Jim Morris have never said throw it in the garbage. We've always said we're going to try to figure out something when we can.
Does Chris have all the master recordings? Or
I think he had them for a while, and then I think Richard or Shannon took them over, and they were transferred onto a different digital medium. I think Jim's taking care of it or something. They're in a better vault now, but I mean, we're gonna have to go off memory too. Yeah, it's crazy. We're up against a lot, but like I said, we don't know how or when, but we've definitely said we're still gonna try.
Steve, would you like to see it out?
Yeah. Oh, every time I talk to Shannon, we always bring up, like, what can we do? So, no, I'm never going to quit.
Yeah, don't quit.
No, I'm not going to quit. It's Chuck's work. It's really well done, too. I have all the demos. I have everything, They're not good enough to release, but they're good enough to know what the final recording will sound like. And it's just as good as Symbolic, Perseverance, the first Control Denied. It's all Chuck. Chuck always sounds like him. So we need to get it finalized and get a singer on there.
Sure. Real quick, I just thought of this because a lot of the new fans who are coming on to Death, no matter where in the discography they land first, there are reissues of the records that are out now. Are the reissues, which include live recordings, which is super cool, I love that. Yeah. I have Individual Thought Pattern. I downloaded it.
Was that the one from Osnabrück?
I'm not sure. It's the download from a Bandcamp. It has a whole shitload of live tracks with the original recordings. But my question is, are those, to your knowledge, are those reissues just straight reissues, or were they like remastered or anything like that?
I know that Human was remixed, and I think they remaster them when they do that because they have to add the bonus track, so they have to master it together to get it. Okay. I don't know. What do you know? I don't know.
I know nothing. Yeah, I don't really know what they've done. I know somebody has postulated in the past just on remasterings these days. Right. It's like, do they even get the old tapes to do it, or do they just take a CD and remaster that thing?
Right.
Because I never understand. And I don't really pay attention that much.
Like my guy's album reissue doesn't have any of the live recordings I was mentioning, but I downloaded the reissue of Individual Thought Pattern, and it came with a whole bunch of live stuff too.
Yeah, sure.
Which I thought was really, really cool. It's like, I've
seen that.
I think it was from a 1993 show, if my memory serves me right.
That was from like Stuttgart Longhorn or something like that, like our first show kind of thing. Really early on.
Very cool. Very cool. Wow. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
you,
I
know
Rob.
I've kept you probably a little longer than you wanted, but any last words for the Death to All fans out there who are watching this all over the world? Any last words?
Well, you know what? We've always appreciated your support. Thank you guys very much for coming out and spending some really magical nights with Death to All, coming out to a great metal show. And if you haven't seen us or you're reluctant to come see Death to All, boy, I tell you, you don't know what you're missing. And I will always say this in interviews, like, do not be the person that gets that phone call the next day saying, where were you? What a great night that was. Best metal night in a long time, and you missed it. Do not be that person, because you don't know what you're getting into. We sound like a CD live. Like, that's how tight this band is. I'm not afraid to say that because it's when I'm listening as we're playing every night. I'm listening to a CD as Max and Bobby and Steve are laying it down live. I'm the chump in this group of dudes, seriously. So that's pretty amazing, So definitely come out and enjoy yourself. Totally.
How about you, Steve? Steve Ashford.
Well, I mean, we appreciate the support because this is a demand-based project only. I mean, we love playing it, but the only reason we do is because people want to hear it. So it's a really, really great exchange of energy. We're here delivering the songs with the utmost integrity, like I said, replicating what we played a quarter of a century ago, and the people see that and understand it, and they give us the vibe back, and that's all it really is. It's just, just a momentary thing and a chance to just, go off. Like Gene said, don't be that guy that gets that call. You're gonna miss something good. But in the end, we appreciate people that take part in it, because we're here to make you happy, man, and play our favorite songs.
I'm so glad you guys are relishing in the metal life, man. For the benefit of all the metal fans, remember, everyone out there, the band is called Death to All. You saw Gene Hoglan and Steve DiGiorgio only right here on Rob's MetalWorks. This creature is human born. It's out of control.